Hello and welcome to Logic. My name is Temko, and from both myself and Zisha, we wish you all a healthy and happy new year. May it be your best year yet. For us, our dreams are games. So let's talk games. And with the holiday season being a dead and lonely place for game releases, we're going to use today to take a look forward and see what's coming our way in 2016. But before we get started, there is one thing I would like to mention. Please stop pre-ordering video games. Please? Too often, consumers have been the dupe of a horrible port or a bad game in general, and I'm looking at you, Arkham Knight on PC, or even an outright lie, Watch Dogs, and have thrown hard-earned money away for something other than they were promised. In today's digital distribution age, there is absolutely not a single reason why you would need to pre-order a game, as there is zero chance of there being no stock left. On top of that, games publishers are basically abusing consumers into buying a game they have yet to build. The entirety of Kickstarter and early access and even pre-orders with a guaranteed alpha or beta access is them trying to get you to pay for games developed without any guarantee, and what you get, you're basically donating money. And if you're fine donating, that's great, go for it. But you're not buying a game, you're donating money, and you may get a thank you gift in the form of a game someday, maybe eventually. So don't pre-order. Wait for reviews and decide if you feel the game is worth your time and money based on that, instead of carefully managed dialogue from a company trying to get you to spend your money. Because we've seen time and again that companies will abuse pre-orders, will abuse early access to sell you broken, unfinished products that they will abandon and never touch again. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk 2016 and let's talk about the biggest hype makers that we feel they might be a smidge too excited for, and if these games might live up to that hype. When you start with a gold rush, you don't do it with a nugget. You do it by robbing Fort Knox. Blizzard is one of the biggest studios in the industry and has released gaming giant after gaming giant over the last 2 decades. And every time you think they're at their wits' end, they go out and rob Fort Knox. This time, they're using the hammer called Overwatch. Overwatch is being touted one of the best games of 2015 and possibly 2016, and it hasn't even been released yet. The hype is that big. A first-person shooter that comes from the same ideas that spawned Team Fortress. You play as competing teams of 6 using 21 characters that each have their own very unique playstyle and difficulty level, giving a strange balance between easy to learn and hard to master. Using various tactics, you kill, hunt, and destroy the other team to protect a point, escort a vehicle, and various other well-known FPS game modes. It's colorful, it's crazy, and it's oozing charisma. There are many things to be said and even more things to see about Overwatch here on YouTube. But there are a few highlights why this game is already shaping up to be one of the most fun titles to play with either friends or even strangers. That isn't to say Overwatch won't have the same problems many online games do with communication and skill level, where being thrown with random players will result in some weird stuff happening, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But because the 21 characters in the game are so well designed, with each having a unique gameplay style and each character feeling alive, instead of being a rapper for shooty mech-character shooty or healer mech-healer support, that even when you're having a bad match, you're still having a ton of fun. Something very few games have been able to create, with the notable exceptions obviously being Team Fortress 2, where Overwatch clearly is taking a lot of inspiration from. Now, having said all of that, there's still a couple of questions remaining in regards to Overwatch that haven't been fully answered. Primarily is how the business model will run after release. Now, the developers have announced that the initial box purchase will include all 21 characters, as well as a bunch of free updates they are releasing after release. So on that front, all's fine, all's good. But how do they plan on regenerating revenue after that? Will there be DLC? Will there be expansions? Will there be buyable skins, etc.? We don't know that yet, and that is a very important thing to know before you dive into Overwatch. Especially if you remember the release of Diablo 3, where they fucked up a lot of stuff over the real-life auction house. Thankfully, this time around, Blizzard has been quite transparent in what they're planning so far, so we applaud them for that foresight. The second question to ask about Overwatch is its longevity. Lots of fun games have been turned to graveyards within a few months. Just look at the online numbers for Titanfall. They've basically plummeted within 6 months after release. Now, unconfirmed reports about the Overwatch beta that's been going on for several months are that the player base is extremely active and healthy. And while that isn't indicative of a healthy population after release, the game is already shaping up to be a welcome addition in a streaming grain profile and seems to be moving to a competitive basis as well. Both of these will of course increase the game's lifespan should they come true. As always, time will tell. Overall, the hype for Overwatch is big, very big. and with one of the biggest studios in the industry working on it, not unexpected. We expect Overwatch to be an amazingly fun game, but we do feel that with the current hype, no game can match up to this. Nonetheless, we are very excited to see what Overwatch is going to bring in 2016. Now, with this kind of opening salvo for 2016, you'd think other companies would run and cower, and of course you'd be wrong. For this is a game that doesn't run. This is a world that doesn't cower. No, Dark Souls 3 will be the one that decides what you will cower for. I don't need to say much on the subject of this game, as it's the third in the series, and if your ears don't perk up, all I can do is look sternly at you and point you to Dark Souls 1. It's hard, it's dark, and it's damn unforgiving, and from the looks of it, the game takes the formula that made Dark Souls 1 the gem it is, and Bloodborne the amazing game of last year. Also seems from the gameplay we've had a chance to experience, they've taken the lessons learned from the criticisms of Dark Souls 2 to heart with Dark Souls 3 and gone back to the roots of what made Dark Souls 1 so amazing. These things combined will bring Dark Souls 3 to be the best possible distillation of this world. Currently, we simply don't know a lot in terms of performance and options, and while we are cautiously optimistic after the PC port of Dark Souls 2, our fingers are still recovering from the horrible port that was Dark Souls 1. This will also be the big question as to what compromises need to be made for the console version compared to PC. Will we have the extremely long load times that Bloodborne was plagued with, or the world we can explore we loved in the other Dark Souls titles? And in Zish's words, praise the sun, we're getting Dark Souls 3. Keeping in line with the dark and brooding and mechanically wonderful is the upcoming For Honor. A very beautiful take on the arena combat. The game takes the ideas we've had since the time of Quake Arena and puts them in a box called Medieval and lets you fight with some amazingly simple yet deep and hard to master mechanics. The base concept of the game seems very simple, but this is a game that rewards tactical and masterful mastery of its mechanics and abilities. Various ways to block and counter give the game an extremely satisfying gameplay feel, and while we've only seen a single playable race so far, the Knight, the developer has said and shown in videos that there will be 4 character types to play with each a unique set of mechanics, strengths, and weaknesses. This of course, in a large variety of gameplay modes. All of this brings the combat, already very deep and rich and rewarding without being random, another very interesting layer they have to explore. Now, while the core gameplay we've had a chance to experience is very enjoyable, there's basically no other things answered about this game. This makes us wonder why the hype is this big. Open questions like if the game will have crossplay between platforms or if we'll have a fractured community from the get-go. We don't know if the PC port will be any good, as far as all gameplay so far shown has been on the PS4. And of course, we don't know anything yet about the business model and its impact to the consumer. So while we are very excited for the game itself, Ubisoft, the game's publisher, has burned us so very often that we're hesitant to be actually optimistic. While we're talking about publishers, I doubt EA could get any more hatred if it tried, as it has done more anti-consumer activities than almost any other publisher over the last years. So when they announced that one of my favorite titles, a game that takes what Assassin's Creed could have become to a whole new level, is getting a new title, I was very interested, and when I finally got to play it, I was genuinely pleased with the experience. I'm of course talking about Mirror's Edge, which was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had running around in a world. The game, built around doing parkour and extreme moves in first person, was an exciting and intense experience letting you perform amazing feats by practice and timing. Now of course, the base concept of the game that was originally released as Mirror's Edge lacked some key open world features, which was also its biggest problem. Now the new release is basically saying it's open, it's a playground, go have fun, which is exactly what I need from a Mirror's Edge game. Let me go, let me play, and let me run around jumping off on and over walls. But, and it's a pretty big donkey, it's EA. Expect DLC, season passes, exclusive pre-order schemes, and all other things we've come to loathe in the last couple of years of PC gaming. So while our fingers are crossed for an amazing experience and an amazing game, like with all other titles here, it's in the hands of the publisher to make sure they don't fuck it up. But as always, there's some shining beacons within the publishing industry, or actually a lack of a publisher. Larian Studios has released one of the most amazing original RPGs of the last 2 years in Divinity Original Sin. And they've announced with a Kickstarter that was wildly successful, bringing in over $2 million, that they are coming out with Divinity Original Sin 2. And if you've not played Divinity Original Sin, we'll pause the video, go play, we'll be here. Go play. Go. Are you done? Okay, good. Then now you know Divinity Original Sin takes some amazing concepts borrowed from very old games such as Icewind Dale and Baldur's Gate and brings them new life in the current day. Those classical games that have very little handholding and let you go in the world and explore and do things you would normally not be allowed to do in many other RPGs, such as killing NPCs or even quest givers, resulting in you actually being stuck with a quest and not being able to finish it, is an amazing idea, and they let you do all sorts of things like that with many secrets, many options, many abilities and quirks and funny stuff everywhere. Now, there were a few things with Divinity Original Sin that they could have done better, and the developer knew this. One of the main differences is that your original story of your character and what you are and what you get and your race and stats and origin story will really impact the game and the options you have, allowing for many playthroughs, many variations in the game, giving it a whole new layer and depth of experience. Now, as with many titles here, we don't really know the business model of this game after release. They have started a Kickstarter, so they're selling the game as a box copy, probably on Steam, probably on GOG.com, but outside of that, we don't really know their plans for post-release monetization and support. Also, one of the defining features of Divinity Original Sin and Enhanced Edition is its modability. Now, they've already said they're releasing a whole mod suite and GM tools where you can create your own story and arc, but of course, it remains to be seen how well they can deliver on this Kickstarter promise. Nonetheless, even if Divinity Original Sin 2 does absolutely nothing new or different from Divinity Original Sin, it'll still be one of the most amazing RPGs to come out on PC in the last couple of years. And that brings us down to the end of this list of games coming out for 2016. As you can see, 2016 is going to be, hopefully, an amazing game for PC gaming, with many titles I've not even mentioned here coming out across the board, from smallest of indies to the biggest of AAA titles and re-releases and reworks. Even so, there's even a couple of console title exclusive that are looking very, very promising, so by no means is the list I've just mentioned, nor its highlights, in any way complete. And we here at Guy Logic are extremely excited to see what 2016 will bring. Hopefully all the games in this list will be amazing, but even if they aren't, at the very least, plenty of other games will be. And with that, I thank you for watching. And if you've enjoyed this video, press the like below, press the subscribe button, press the share button, see us on Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social media outlets. And we will see you next time, right here on Guy Logic.